What's going on YouTube? Yamayati, welcome to the channel. In this episode guys, we're going to be installing the Thrashin 6.5 risers on my 2023 Lowrider ST. So if you guys want to check that out, stick around, stay tuned, and enjoy. If any of this content interests you, do me a huge favor. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you want, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to be notified of all new uploads. Alright, here are the stock risers, and guys, they're not that bad. Honestly, it looks really nice. It matches the top here, matches here. So, you know, they did very well with just making this aesthetically look really nice. Now, I just feel like these need to be a little taller for me. They're a little too short, and I do feel like my shoulders are being, like, you know, when you're riding, how your arms are kind of stretched out forward, your back, your shoulders kind of, I don't know, kind of bow in. I want it a little taller and a little pushed back. So with the 6.5 Thrashin risers, it should raise up the clamp about this much taller, about this much forward. So, you know, about it right in here is where it's going to end up, which will essentially pull these bars back just a tad. I mean, 2.5 inches is a big deal, guys. I used to race bicycles. Here it is up here. I mean, I used to race bikes, and when you would get that stem, if you went with like a 20mm stem or a 30, trust me, aesthetically it looks different, but when you start riding some miles, just with that little difference of positioning could cause damage either for the good or for the bad. So I don't want to go too aggressive. Some guys go with like these big old 10-inch risers that are like way out here, and they're all, nah, I don't want that. I still want this thing to be sporty, but I just want it to be a little more comfortable. So I'm going to start with the 6.5s, and if anything, if I still need to go up higher, I'll probably end up going with the 8s. But for today, we're going to do the 6.5s, and here they are. I actually got them pulled up on the website. Bam! Thrashin Supply, the 6.5 risers. Now, I've watched a few videos. You don't need any cables, so all we had to do was purchase the risers, and here they are in the box. Super nice. Man, I really love the box. Thrashin Supply, motorcycle parts, America. Made in the USA. I love it. Lighter, faster, stronger. Not bad. Let's go open this up here, and boom. There you go, guys. This is what I love. Check it out. America. Made in America. I don't know, to me that means a lot. I'm a very patriotic type of guy, so I love things made in the USA. Bam, here's the top clamp. I love the bolts that are there, super nice. Here's the other side, and if we compare it, which will be kind of hard, but as you can see, this riser is definitely taller, and it will stick out a little further than the stock one. So there we go, and we're gonna put this on here in a minute. Now, it should be pretty simple. I do have the bike lifted up, so that way I can move this wheel back and forth, because you're gonna have to move this from side to side to get access to the bolts that are under the actual riser itself. I could go from the bottom, but the bolts are basically right about here. There's one right there, and you have to turn the wheel to get the socket in place so you can go ahead and loosen that. So boom, we're gonna do that here. So this should be a pretty simple install. You don't have to lift off the tank. Some guys do. You don't have to. We should be able to do everything from here. We're gonna dismount this first, get the gauge off, put a towel, get all this covered up, leave the bars, uninstall the risers, get the new ones on, reverse everything. Should be pretty simple. So we're gonna do that here in a second. First thing you're gonna need is a 3/4 socket, a swivel, makes it a little easier, an extension, and a socket. What you're gonna do is turn the bars all the way to the left, and all I'm gonna do is just loosen up that bolt that's there. That way I can remove the rest. All right guys, go ahead and get something to protect the tank area, because I don't want this tank to get scratched up. So I got just an old sweater. I'm gonna use that. That's my Yamaha blue sweater. And then I have this kind of leather, I don't know, it's just a big piece of leather, but I'm gonna cover up the whole fender with it. I've been using this just to cover my fenders when I work on the bike, and that way if something happens, something drops, it won't scratch anything. Same thing here. If I drop something like an Allen key or something, it's not gonna hit the tank and scratch it. And first thing I'm gonna do is remove these 4 screws just to kind of get the bars loose and go from there. All right guys, get your 1/4 Allen key and go ahead and loosen up the clamp very carefully. Now be careful, these bars will start to fall once you get them all loose, so just make sure you hold on to them. All right, also what I do is I just gently let the bars rest with the grips onto the fairing while I go ahead and remove the rest of these bolts. Carefully, just Lay this down, go ahead and move the bars down as well. Alright guys, just to show you a better angle of this, I went ahead and wrapped this up just so it doesn't get scratched and moved it on top of the risers that are here. And all you need to do is get something sharp. I have this little, I don't know what this is, like little pick tool. And just see that little black square right here? Push this in very gently and pull this out at the same time. Boom. And that removes the actual gauge. Alright, real quick, go ahead and get a T15 and we're gonna go ahead and remove these 4 bolts to remove this actual gauge. All right, now that that's done, go ahead and from this side, push the screen upwards. And it should come out pretty easy. Now we're gonna get our Thrashin Supply gauge. We're gonna put it in the same fashion, reversed. So just go ahead and line it up, really gently push it down. It is a nice tight fit, which I like. They did this very nice precision cuts, so it's nice and secure. Make sure that rubber doesn't get pinched. I just did that, so just be careful because it's got like a little rubber on the edges. Make sure you kind of take your time as you push this up, not to pinch those. So that way, there you go, you see? That way that rubber is nice and even all the way around. Now we're gonna flip this over and put the screws back in. All right, that's what it'll look like when you're all done. And then go ahead and set this aside. All right guys, I went ahead and got my sweater kind of wrapped up the arms here, the levers. That way, as I'm removing these risers, if things start to move around, they don't scratch anything. I'll keep an eye on it as I'm doing it, but I rather have protection just to be safe. And now to remove these risers, what we gotta do is we gotta get this 3/4 socket. I got like a half cup. It's not a short and it's not a deep socket. It's kind of like in the middle with a swivel because you're gonna need that. And obviously we got our ratchet there. And what you gotta do is you gotta turn the wheel all the way to one direction in order to access that bolt. It's kind of hard to show you, but if you look from the bottom side of the bike, if you do not have the wheel turned, you're not going to be able to access the bolt that holds that riser. So let's go ahead and start to remove it with this. Once you get it loose, you just hold the riser with your hand on the top. Just keep ratcheting it off so it'll come out. All right guys, left side is done. So now what I did was I turned the wheel to the right and we're gonna do the right side. And once it starts spinning, just go ahead and hold it from the top. Now it's got Loctite in it, so it's kind of hard to take out, but just keep working it little by little. You hear my neighbor with the Christmas music? 'Tis the season. Carefully slide this up. Boom. Make sure you get this little washer. You're gonna need that. All right guys, one thing that you're gonna notice is that these risers have the bolt like fixed inside of the arm. So in other words, this is what we loosened from the bottom. And as this comes off, you'll notice that the bolt actually stays inserted into the riser. So we can't use this bolt, right? So I did not realize that. I checked the box, I didn't have any hardware. So I went to the website. When you go to the website, if you scroll down to the bottom, it says right here, base hold tap for standard 1/2 by 13 mounting bolt. Bolts not included. So what I had to do was I ran over to Ace Hardware and I was able to find the exact bolt. The only thing is that the actual nut itself is a little shorter than this one. Like I like how this one's a little beefier, a little easier to get your socket on, but this one should work. But what I'm gonna do is once we get this one, I'm gonna put a bunch of blue Loctite and then we'll just have to reutilize these. Now I didn't go with the good and tight spacers or whatever because honestly guys, I figure it's only a 2-inch difference. I mean if these bushings can hold the stock one, they should be okay with the Thrashin, but I get that if you were to go super aggressive higher, like with the 8 or 10, you definitely would need those good and tight, you know, bushings or spacers or whatever they are. But for now, we're just going to utilize the stock ones. And again, these were like $3.69 a piece. So not bad. They're stainless steel, heavy duty. So we're gonna put some Loctite and just reuse it all. Before we put these on, let's go ahead and get this blue Loctite, and I'm gonna put a bunch. Usually I don't put like a lot, but in this case, I'm gonna put a whole bunch because I feel that we're gonna need it. So I actually went and bought another tube. I'm gonna put a bunch of Loctite on here, all the way up to about this point. All right, so definitely get a lot of Loctite on there. This is the bottom bolt here. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide that on. And now we're gonna go ahead and get our first side and install it. All right guys, with the bolt, I'm gonna go through the bottom here, just like so. Carefully just push it through. And then I'm just gonna spin it a little bit, just hand tight, just to kind of hold it in place. Boom, just like that. And now I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other side and do the same thing. All right guys, again, go ahead and put the screw in through the bottom. Go ahead and get your riser, stick it in place, and then go ahead and just hand tighten it, guys, for now. All right guys, so once you get it set like that, you're just mocking it up. We're not tightening up anything yet because we got to put the bar in its place, and we have to put the clamp, get those kind of secured before we go ahead and torque and tighten up the bottom. All right guys, now that we got it all mocked up, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pull these bars in place and just kind of hold it there, so then I can plug in the gauge. Then I will pull the gauge over, put it on top, and then hopefully be able to put in a few screws just to hold it in place. I was able to just barely pull up a little slack, just enough to get it on there. It's not a super tight fit, but it is kind of tight, so you got to kind of pull gently and pull the bar over the top. We're gonna put the clamp, put a few bolts just to hold it in place, and get the gauge plugged in all at the same time. All right guys, I don't know if you can see this, but here's what I'm talking about. You just get the bar, be careful, just barely pull it up and over just to kind of get it into place. You could probably just let it sit there. It may be okay. Yeah, that should be okay. Then go ahead and you get your wire for the gauge. Just kind of pull up on it just a little bit, like so. And then we're gonna go ahead and plug in our gauge. Put it here, and then just get a couple of the provided screws that they gave us. Now I may put some Loctite on these as well, but for now, I just want to kind of get it into place just to see what it looks like. This is a 3/8, so you can get your 3/8 as well, kind of help you out. All right, now I can go ahead and start kind of getting these figured out where I want them. Man, I can see the difference already. Woo.
It's looking mighty nice.
All right guys, now that we kind of have it set up in place, now I'm gonna go ahead and I'll move the bars around slightly and just kind of get it positioned to where I want it. Then take these off one by one, put the blue Loctite and put it all back. And this is pretty much how it's gonna get done. I also have to tighten up the bolts from the bottom, but like again, I saved those for last to make sure I got this all set up before I tighten those from the bottom. All right guys, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up these risers to spec. Now on the website on Harley, it says 30 to 40 pounds of torque for that bottom screw that's there. So I'm just gonna go with 40 pounds. So I got my torque wrench set to 40 pounds and we're gonna tighten these up. All right, guys. Woo.
That is looking mighty fine.
I went ahead and got it all torqued up. Go ahead and get your rags and wipe down any excess. I got some blue Loctite because remember I put a bunch of Loctite in there, so got some Loctite dripping out through the bottom. So go ahead, just kind of clean up your area. Dude, that's on there. I could just feel it. And actually when I was tightening, I saw how the bushings actually kind of scrunched down, hence why people probably use the Gudentite. But definitely I saw it compressing as I was torquing it down. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on this and we'll be right back. All right guys, there it is, all done and installed. I got the bottom tight, I got the top tight as well. So what I did was I sat on the bike and I just positioned the bars where I wanted. I like to have it so when I'm riding, my hand is straight out and it's not bent up or down. So that way when I'm sitting, my hand is straight out with my wrist and I can just pull the brake and the clutch in just with my hand, just like that. And I did tighten these up. I saw on the internet these are 16 pounds. So I went ahead and tightened these up and make sure that the gap, you know, the gap that you see here on the top, like that right there, make sure that it's even all the way around. I heard that in some places they want the bottom a little more narrow than the top, but I just kept them all pretty much uniformed all the way around. And guys, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. It looks amazing. It looks a lot different. Even from this angle here, I know that the risers are installed because before all these mirrors, and especially the lever, seem to be closer to the bike. Now it's further away and a little higher. And man, Thrashin Supply came through. And here we go. We're gonna hit this switch here just to make sure that the gauge lights up. And bam, oh, my key's over there. Hold on, let me try that again, stand by. I did get the Thrashin Supply bag a couple weeks back before I bought the risers. Whoop, whoop. Bam, and there it is. The gauge came on, so we know that it's plugged in correctly. And bam, that's pretty much it, guys. So thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this install. And remember, man, be blessed, ride safe, take it easy on them filthy streets. And remember, you got to work on Monday. Peace.